Welcome back, everyone. Today we have ourselves a series of highly instructive student videos. Okay, we've been following this one student for a long while now. We've seen how he's shaped and progressed, and today we're going to do a deep dive excavation of his tendencies, his weaknesses. And if you're interested in such an expose on yourself, so that you can get insight into what your own weaknesses are, what your own tendencies are, your unconscious patterns, then hit me a message and we're going to work something out. But for now, let's dive into the games. First game, we got a very interesting positional battle, and I think this style perhaps suits the student well because he's not a good tactician. His tactics puzzles rating is only 2200. I don't believe that he wants to do too much hard work with it either. So he's just not going to be a tactician, and that's okay. That's okay because you can play positionally and you can still play well. So my recommendation to the student is to play positional. Now, with that being said, look at this move. It's a masterclass move. It's a masterclass move in many different ways, and I just want to point that out that this was not an easy move to play well, but I think it was pretty good for creating this closed position. Of course, you can make an argument that this is just as good, giving you an advanced, a passed pawn here. So you can make an argument either way. But what I want to point out is the strategic idea that allowed for white to develop this kind of a setup. It's tremendous, tremendous positional play. But now we're going to find out what my students' weaknesses. Okay, this is all superb, superb, right? But now what should white do? How does white convert this winning position? You need to have a middle game plan. And you need to recognize that in slow positions, you can take your time. You don't have to do it super efficiently. You can pace yourself because it's a closed position and structurally sound. So what do you really need to do as white here? You want to get this knight all the way there. Isn't that it? That's what you did with the previous knight. But the route there is not so straightforward, right? You can't, because white starts out with this move, and right out the bat, he makes his job a lot harder because to go from here to here is the hardest sequence. You need 4 moves to go in any of these directions. Important to keep in mind this pattern, okay? Because the knight would have to go here, then here, then here, then here, 4 moves, you see? A good training exercise, count how many moves it takes to to get a knight from here to here or to a different square, and just calculate it in your head mentally. But yeah, that's a drill, training drill. Instead, what white should have done here is probably rook here, knight down, knight here, knight there. Boom. Solid position. You're going to try to win this pawn eventually. You're going to put pressure there. It's just how you have to do. You don't have to worry about anything else. So middle game planning is a crucial aspect of chess, and what you see is lacking here, and unfortunately, it's kind of ugly to watch in some sense. So we're not going to spend too much time looking at that. But yeah, all right. Next game. Next game also has a middle game positional kind of lesson to be learned. So let's dive into that. Opening is all pretty decent. There are some interesting tactics with the queen and the thing, all of this stuff here, but it's all handled fairly fine. We're not going to delve too much into it. I think black's playing quite okay. White also playing very interesting move here, right? Keeping this bishop around, and a superb diagonal. But right over here, white decides to capture the knight. That's a blunder, strategic blunder. The bishop pair has a lot of power. Let me say it again. The bishop pair has a lot of power. You need to have a tremendous reason to go against that kind of a rule of thumb here. Just tuck the bishop back here and attack that pawn. It's going to coax a weakness. Either he's going to do this or he's got to do that, in fact. So then he'll have a hole here, which you can try to exploit with the knight, maybe, like that. There's all kinds of ideas. Anyway, Now that you have given up the bishop pair, it's still okay. The computer is not saying that you're losing or anything right away, because computer understands how to play these kind of positions. But do you understand it? What you got to understand here is that as white, you want to make these pieces work for you, right? And no better way to start that off than but clattering the pawn structure right off the bat. You already got the bishop lined up, so you can't just move this forward unless he doesn't lose the pawn, unfortunately, because the rook's guarding the knight. But still, the ideas remain. The ideas are around here, and if this happens, your bishop can eventually have a great outpost here too. So clatter the pawns up and seek to capture here, seek to get this bishop and rook working well together in tandem, with the knight offering a supporting kick at a timely moment. But you don't know your middle game plan really. You're just sort of playing, moving the pieces. But you need to have your plan. You need to watch that your bishop is about to be trapped here, bro. Okay. So it's a very difficult position. Passive structures are difficult to hold, and yeah, it's just, well, he didn't even take his chances, which he had many of. So, but anyway, middle game strategy lesson part of this segment is over. Now we go into game three. Game 3 and 4 focus on central pawns. Win the central pawn battle. The central pawn is like Tendulkar. Okay, if you get a central pawn out cheaply, you win the game. You get Sachin out, you win the game. And right here is a chance to get Sachin out. Because, yeah, it is a bit tactical, because he can take here, you take back, he takes here, you take back, he takes here, but you still got this bishop check at the end of it, all right? This pawn has to be taken. You have to win these battles. Uh, you probably even had a chance here to just capture here and then enable winning over there. You've got to win the central pawn. You've got to be willing to capture pawns. There's a tendency to not capture pawns. There's a tendency to kind of keep everything, keep the tension. But win the goddamn pawn, bro. Win the goddamn pawn. There's so many ways to win the pawn. You don't have to worry about the bishop check because the pawn's in the way. Giving too much respect to the opposition, thinking that they know what they're doing and they're playing an opening after all. Maybe you got overawed, 1200 rating. Maybe you thought this guy, he knows his chess. It's not true. It's not true at all. And then you got into this situation. And here, of course, you're way behind the game. I think you played quite tenaciously, given the difficult position. You made it challenging, so that credit to you for that. But remember the central pawn lesson because it's super important. And yeah, here you actually got back in the game. Game's now more or less even. But it's important to play the right move here. And there, in end games, rooks should always be active. Don't do this. This is typically a wrong move. If you're getting your rook back to defend a pawn in an endgame, you're probably making something wrong. Even better than that would obviously be rook here to force to invite the exchange of rooks. That helps you middle game position strategy wise. If you're the only player who has a rook on the board, you're going to win the game probably because your rook can travel really far in an endgame when a few pawns covering. So this is the wrong idea. The correct idea would have, I think, been rook f1. I mean, right at the start, play rook f1, because if he moves the rook away, then you got these checks, you got all sorts of stuff. All right, that's small tidbit lesson. The rest of this was, oh, well, you made a blunder there. So, yeah. Okay, so that's game 3. Game 4. Game 4 also has a similar idea, so let's have a look at that. We still got plenty of time in the video. Very similar opening to what we, oh yes, right over here you have now a chance to win the central pawn, I believe. It's a little bit tricky to do it right, I think, but there should be a way. There is a bit of tactics involved, yes, but this is too passive. Gotta take that chance. Take that chance, win these central pawns. It's super important. Now he's trying to hold on to everything, but even this is an error from black. Black should first capture here. Then white has to capture back with the pawn, and now this pawn is, and now you can hold it strongly with the bishop. But going right away already, you just capture here yourself, and then knight comes here. You've got enough pressure leaning up onto this. You've got enough pieces that can attack there. So you've got to open the gates, bro. Open the gates. Don't do all this niddly doodly stuff. Open the gates, Proximo. Okay, you did it eventually. And then you won the game. You see, you open the gates, Proximo, and you win the game. All right, game number 5. This also has a central pawn dynamic, and in this case, you actually won the central pawn. Right there. But you misplay the rest of the game. You misplay starting around here. Starting around here, you're in a comfortable position. White is a comfortable pawn ahead. You don't have to do anything. You've already got Sachin out. You just got to play normal moves. Dress score singles. Develop the knight. The knight belongs here. The knight belongs on c3. That's its best square. This is okay. It's more passive. It's not optimal. This is optimal. If you can play it, you must play it. And capturing first is almost always not a great idea unless there's a strong strategic reasoning behind it. Here, it is just helping black to develop his pieces, develop his bishop. It's helping black. Don't capture like that. And now, also, if you find yourself needing to play moves like this, recognize it's probably a wrong move. Is there another option? Think about that, okay? Don't try to get your rook behind. It's like playing like Kohli, not going for a boundary. I'm just going to try to get a single. No intent. Show some intent. Queen here. Look at that. It's the same idea, but it's more powerful. Now that was a hell of a move from black, actually. It's a hell of a move. I was spending a lot of time thinking about this, when I don't know why. I think you can take it. Black has a lot of firepower attack, but he's going to have to be a super duper tactician to really utilize it, I think. Anyway, tricky game here then, tricky game. And I think what was really instructive was the ending. In the ending, you have this kind of motif, and black wins right over here. Pause the video if you want to find that mating pattern. All right, so mating pattern is black just captures, check, and checkmate. Man, great pattern because of the knight guarding the square. All right, final game. Oh shit, I don't know where the final game went. Maybe this is it. Yeah, that's probably it. Okay, final game of the video series is this one. Very solid game, very positional. You're good at positional. Okay, and absorbing a lot of tension. You tend to absorb a bit too much tension, and right here is a typical example of that. You're trying to over attack. You're trying to be too cute. Sense the moment when it's time to loosen up the tension. Sense the moment to loosen up the tension. As a player who's not a superb tactician, you've got to keep the game at a manageable level of complexity. Don't overdo it. It's good to do a little, but don't overdo it because it'll backfire. All right, and then the last part of this video is about the lesson involved with capturing pawns. You have a tendency to not confront the pawn battle. Capture the pawns and create a good pawn structure like this. You have to know what a good pawn structure looks like so that this is safer for your king. Your king can hide away here, your knight can come, all of this can happen. But you got to create that pawn structure. This is not the right way to handle it. You have to understand your middle game plans. You have to be willing to confront the pawn battles. And that's how you play the game. Of course, after this, he made a blunder, and then the rest is history. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching the video, and hope you enjoyed it. Bye.